Hi there, my name is Seth Larney. I'm the writer-director of 2067. Today I'm going to take you through a breakdown of one of the sequences of the movie and tell you some of my thought processes that went into the creation of it. If you haven't seen the film before now, please watch it before you watch this because we're going to get into some deep spoilers. I hope you enjoy. I love this sequence. I love sort of coming into this scene and this sequence really intimately. So the shot of the feet at the start is to sort of come in really small. A lot of suspense. You really just don't know what these guys are about to find, but you can feel something.
Because this ain't the way.
I storyboarded a lot of this sequence, and the reason is because there's a lot of visual storytelling in the depth of the frame in this scene. And the reason for that is because what I like to try and do as much as possible is reflect the emotional state and the conflict of the characters, the subtext of the scene in the visuals. So all of the design of the sets, the design of the visual effects, and the blocking of the scenes are all there to serve the conflicts that these two characters are going through all the time. Rather than kind of like the literal interpretation of what the design is, it's more about how you feel going into the scene. So this little cut was actually a great choice by my editor Sean to cut this little skull really quick, so we just sort of like feel it's present, the death of this place, rather than linger on it and have it be gratuitous. A couple other things about the background here just quickly. See on this frame here, there's a little Ferris wheel in the background. And again, talking about really trying to get those little layers of subtext into the design of something so it's not super literal, it's emotional. The Ferris wheel is there because in the story, they're in the school and we imagine this is where the kids might have played in the past, but what a horrific feeling to feel that we don't just have business skyscrapers out the back there, we have the destroyed remnants of a world that represented the children and the innocence of this world that they came from, and it's really that innocence that's been torn down and destroyed by this apocalypse that's happened, and just trying to find these little moments to help us to feel that, even if you don't clock it intellectually in the background, it's there, and I hope that it adds just to the feeling of the tone of what you're feeling when you see this conflict between these two characters. I love this frame as well with Jude off in the background, out of focus. He's like this spectre of Ethan's shadow in a way. His conscious is always there behind him in the background, guiding him, helping him, but never in the foreground, letting him do his thing, but always just trying to kind of pull him in the direction that Jude wants him to go or needs him to go.
It's okay, buddy.
I think we filmed this whole sequence. I think it's something like, well, it's 11 pages, but there's a flashback in between. So I think it's 7 pages of this scene in half a day. So I think in something like 5 hours. And I remember that because we came out of another set at lunchtime and then we filmed it. We had quite a tight shooting schedule on this film, so we had to get through a lot. But because the actors were so prepared, and because we had prepared physically for the sequence and we had storyboarded it well, you know, Earl Dresner, my DOP, really understood what we needed to film, again, because every angle in this sequence is storyboarded. And Jacinta Leong, my production designer, had done such a great job of setting the emotional tone of the set in the design for the actors to live in. We were able to get through it really quickly and really efficiently. I wanted this scene to feel really, it started upside down and it flips up the right way. I wanted it to feel really awkward because it's a memory and it's twisted and it has this sort of anger and obtuseness to it. Also, ironically, on this day that we filmed this sequence, we actually had quite a lot of extras there because we had filmed another scene that had those extras in it. So I think we had 100 or 200 extras there for the opening of the movie. But I didn't use them intentionally because I wanted this sequence to feel incredibly lonely and very subjective and in Ethan's mind and his point of view. And I wanted us to feel, and for him to feel like he is being abandoned, that he is in the darkest recesses of the world with no escape, because it reflects this pain that he has. So this shot here of his mother dying, her last breath, she looks him right in the eyes, is one of only 2 times in the film that I use a character looking into the lens. One is the mum looking at him and the other one is the father looking at him. And it's because these 2 figures in his life are what has created this emotional pain that he has, that he's carrying with him, and they very much represent this unfinished business that he's trying to work through to become this more evolved version of himself. So obviously, use it sparingly, it's incredibly confronting, but I think here it really connects us with his journey. So Kenneth Lampool is our composer. The process with him was that I gave him a 2-hour playlist of temp music, which most composers would hate and freak out at. But it was mostly because I was like, here is the emotional context of each character, each beat. And then he came back and he scored an hour of music for me to play to the actors when we were on set, and then we edited the film, and then we scored the film. And the reason that was so valuable is because it really allowed us to fold in a lot of storytelling beats that you might normally do with something like sound design into the music, so that you can have this one coherent flowing soundscape rather than those things feeling kind of separate. So I wanted to make sure that we were scoring the subtext of each scene rather than just the text of the scene, so that it wasn't the obvious layer that you were hearing. It was always what is happening in between the characters underneath that you're hearing and that you're feeling. And that can be really difficult sometimes because it's not the obvious. So here as well, we originally actually had quite big thematic music in this sequence, and when we got to the mix, I pulled it right back and really repressed it until its kind of undertones, so that it's this guttural, low feeling that you have when she dies, and then it's just being pushed down, and then as he crawls away from her, you let it come up and swell, and it just brings the emotion of the scene with it.
Breathe. Breathe. No! Breathe!
I love this cut here because you're always trying to find these segues, right, to motivate the transitions between these emotional moments. There's a reason that we come out of the flashback here, and it's because Ethan is living this moment in his mind. He's freaking out, and Jude has to bring him out of it because he is going to hyperventilate. So it isn't just that the memory is over, is that there is an action, there's a drive that drives us into this next scene. Those two moments are reflected, and it's almost continuing in this next scene.
How could I leave her alone? Well, you did what you thought was right, Heath.
The whole film is single cam. I think there is 1 or 2 shots in the film that are multiple cam. And there's a few reasons for that. One is I like to shoot with a single cam because I feel that quite often the second camera can get in the way of the first camera. Everybody has different styles, but for me, the point of view of the scene is only ever in one place at once. So I like to try and pick the hero angle and really understand where the scene is living at every moment before we film, and then we just shoot exactly what's going to be in the edit. And then we'll move that camera and pick up what we need for the next beat, rather than just sort of shooting coverage. Because I just find sometimes it can, the second camera can kind of be in the way, and you're compromising 2 angles instead of getting what you need.
This is not your fault.
So Sean Layoff is my editor. He did such an incredible job with this sequence because he really understood. We worked so hard together to get to the depths of the subtext of the sequence. He helped me to find the drama in the scene and to make sure that we were always sticking to the drama, because in a scene like this, you have so many layers, as I've sort of outlined, of things that are going on at any one moment. The scenes are only ever just about the characters. So what I was trying to do the whole time is just make sure that we're just there with the drama, and all those other things are just melting into the background, and he did a really amazing job of that in this sequence, but also through the whole film.
You know how my skeleton got there, don't you?
And you're always trying to work out in these scenes, how have the characters changed through the scene? What's the momentum coming in and what's the momentum coming out? And that's why I love this scene so well, because it's probably the scene that shows the biggest change in their dynamic. It's a big inflection point for their shift in the balance of power between the two characters. This is really where the meat of that begins for them. Thanks for watching. I hope that you got something out of that, and that you see the film in a slightly different light. Check out the film again on Netflix, tell your friends. I really appreciate the time. Thanks for watching.